Hello everyone, my name is Nitin Shardul. I have done my BTech in Computer Science and Engineering. After that, I have completed my diploma in Banking Business, and currently I am pursuing the PRISM course from MIL Academy. Today, I discuss on topic the global IT standard that promote the IT security. Everyone know the standards which increase the quality of the services. In today's world, we purchase anything or service. First, we look the qualities, and these qualities and the services come from by maintaining the standards. We see what is the agendas of today's discussion. The standards. What is the standards? Why the standards are required? Basic criteria for standards. Source of the standards and benefit of the standards. There is any misconceptions about the standards, and how the standard promote the IT security. What are the standards requirements? We see one by one. As per the British Standard Institute, the standard is an agreed, repeatable way of doing something. It is a statement or it is a document that contains the rules, guidelines and definitions. It also contains the technical specifications. It makes the life simpler, reliable and effectiveness of the many goods and the services. Standard is created by the experience and the expertise of the interested parties. Interested parties like board of directors, stakeholders, shareholders, etc. It is a collectively of work of the organization, government and consumers where they are work together to meet the demands of the society and the technologies. It is a straightforward. There is a consortium of the many organizations. They comes together and they form the committees and decide the standards for their organizations, and they study the market scenario and they develop the standards which control the IT security. The standard are designed for the voluntary use and it is not enforced by the any regulations. For example, the payment card industries decided the credit card is acceptable globally. It is a physical characteristics of the credit card. Now we see why the standards are required. There is a globalization in every sector. We see that nowadays in each and every sector there is a globalization. The people are aware about the standards, people are aware about the securities, and they want the standards in each and every things. The effectiveness and the reliabilities of the goods and the services. Effectiveness and the reliabilities in terms of the availabilities of the services, they are required for maintaining the qualities of the products, as well as they are also increasing their reputations by maintaining the standards. Law and the regulations may refers to the certain standards and make the compliance with them compulsory. Some regulations, they are follow the standards for making the compliance and they apply on their organizations. In today's scenario, everyone from private, public or government sector, everyone follow the standards. To assist in the development of the security standard by bringing together the information about the standard and about the work in progress. Everyone are interested to know about the organization for which kind of the standards, what kind of the securities they are providing. Hence, the standard and their work progress is very important to understand how much kind of the reliabilities the organization is providing. The availabilities, the standards, organizations works on these standards. It also helps to identify the gaps between multiple standards. One organization follow the multiple standards. They are required to study how the gap analysis between the two standards, if they are maintaining, how they are correlated the two standards with each other. Standard give the mandatory and specific requirement. If we see the ISO standard, it gives the certain mandatory clause and specific requirements for the organization to maintain their information security management system. There is a basic criteria for standard. It requires the acceptance because some people are not aware about the standard. They are thinking why we are maintaining the standard, why we are uh, um, involve the cost in to maintain the standards. We have no time to maintain the standards. Hence, the acceptance is very important, as well as the approval of the top management is also important to take a decision on which kind of the standards is required for their organization. Awareness of employees and as well as the customer is also very important to provide the trust of the peoples on the organizations. Hence, the awareness of the employees as well as the customer is very important. Auditing and testing on continuous basis. When you are implementing any kind of the standard, you are ensure that the audit and test is regular, because it find out which kind of the vulnerabilities and threat to your organizations, and they are study the risk analysis, the risk mitigation plans. Second is cost and time management. Definitely the cost and time is required to maintain the standard. Competency, monitor and review on the regular basis, correlation between the multiple standard, and skill through drill. After maintaining the standard, you cannot say that we are getting the qualities, because it is not a one-day process, it is an ongoing process. You require regularly practices. Hence, we said that the skill through drill. Standard solve the securities issues. But what kind of the securities issues the standard is for solves? We see organization also face the confidentiality, integrity, availability, authentication, non-repudiations. What kind of the security controls they are required? What kind of the specific required are they are required? The management always tackle these issues by maintaining the standards. They are designing the frameworks to handle this kind of the problems. There is some source of the standards. As per Wikipedia, ISO is an international organization for standardization. It is a consortium of national security interest from 157 countries, and it is the world's largest organizations to develop the standards. For example, ISO 27001 is a standard given the ISMS requirements, and currently the British standard 7799 is converted into the ISO 27001. Second source is a NIST, National Institute of Standard and Technology. It is a non-regulatory federal agencies within the US Department of the Commerce. NIST is a agency of a federal committee of a US department, and it works for the national economies and the national security interests, as well as it develop the standards and the metrics to test the validate and programs. It also work with OMB, Office and Management of Budgets, and it submit the report to the Congress of the US Department. It is also custodian of the FIPS. FIPS is a publication issued by the NIST committee. Third one source is the Internet Society. Internet Society, it is a professional membership society, more than 100 organizations and over the 20,000 individuals members over the 180 countries. It decides the architecture of the internet. It decides the internet task force, as well as Internet Society gives the protocols known as RFC, request for comment, and standard for the internet infrastructure. Next source is Information Security Forum, shortly called as ISF. It is a non-profit organization of 100 leading organizations in finance, manufacturing, telecommunication, consumer goods, and governments. It researches the information security best practices, which is shortly called as the SOGP, standard of the good practices. Last but one is the IT Grant Check catalogs. It's shortly called as German IT baseline. It is a collection of the documents from the German federal offices for the security in IT. It is useful for detecting the vulnerabilities in IT cluster and IT environment. It is a documentary catalogs for the baseline security. It gives the appropriate security measures to the organizations. Now we see ISO standard series. In ISO 27000 series, the first one is ISO 27000. It gives the principle and the vocabulary in the development. ISO 27001, it gives the ISMS requirement, and it is a part of the BS 7799 part second. And the part 1 is discuss about the code of the practices. 27002 is give the guidelines about the ISMS. 27003 give the ISMS implementations guideline. ISO 27004 give the ISMS metrics and the measurement. ISO 27005 give the ISO risk management. This risk management is based upon the asset classification. We have the 7 type of the asset: people, process, software, hardware, documents, goodwill, services. They find out the what kind of the threat to that asset. In ISO 27006 to 2700110, they are allocating for the future use. And nowadays the BS 7799 is moved to the ISO 27001. Part first is contain the code of the practices, and part second contain the ISMS requirements. Now we see the ISO 27001. It is established in 2005. It gives the 5 mandatory clause and 11 security domains with 39 control objectives and 133 controls. In 5 mandatory clause, they give the ISMS, Information Security Management System, management responsibilities, internal Information Security Management System audit, management review on the ISMS, and ISMS improvement. And there is 11 security domains like security policies, organization of the information security, asset management, human resource security, physical and environmental security, access control, communication and operation controls, information system acquisition and development and maintenance, business continuity management, compliance, and last but one is information security incidents management. In ISO 27005, it discusses about the risk management. This risk management is depending upon the asset classification. As we discussed before, the asset having the 7 types: people, process, documents, software, hardware, information, goodwill, and services. They give the PDCA cycle, plan, do, check, act. The sequence is very important in this risk management. In plan, they establish the context for risk assessment, developing the risk treatment plan. Everyone knows that the risk cannot be eliminated, it only be mitigated up to the acceptable levels. They give the risk treatment plan. We tolerate the risk, we transfer the risk, we treatment the risk, and reduce the risk up to the risk acceptance levels. In do section, implement of the risk treatment plan. In checking, the continuous monitoring and review of the risk. In act, after checking and continuous monitoring the risk, to maintain and improve the information security risks and management processes. They maintain the policies and they enforce on our organizations to make it mandatory policies to follow all the peoples of the organizations. Second standard is payment card industry standard. There is 5 payment brands: American Express, DFS, JCB, Mastercard, Worldwide, and Visa INCs. They are the payment brands. They have found the PCI SSC, Payment Card Industries System Securities Council. They are developing the PCI DSS and the PADSS standards. PCI DSS applies where the account data is stored, processed, or transmitted. Account data consisting of the cardholder data plus sensitive authentication data. And PADSS is applicable for those vendors who develop the payment application or payment applications, process, transmit the cardholder data and the part of the authorizations where the payment application are sold or distributed the license to the third parties. There is a 12 requirement of the PCI DSS, use of the internal network and segregate from the DMZ because it is available. DMZ is available publicly, hence to segregate from the DMZ, and do not use the vendor supply default password and other securities parameter. Protect the card holder data. Encrypt the transitions of the card holder data across the open public network. Use the regular update of the antivirus softwares and the system softwares. When you are using the network, you ensure that you are using the appropriate control measure for encryption. Develop and maintain the security system in the application. Restrict the access to the card holder data by business need to know basis. Assign the unique ID those who use the computer access for doing the PCI transactions. Restrict the physical access to the card holder data. Track and monitor all the access to the network resource, means maintain every log which going through the system. And regular test the security system and the processes. Maintain a policy that addresses information securities for the person. There is also the PADSS requirements. It also give the mandatory requirements for the application design or developer who develop the payment card applications. In a magnetic strip, we know that there is a two type of the data, type 1 and type 2. In type 1 data, there is a card holder identification data, and in card 2 data, there is authorization data. Then do not retain the full magnetic strip data, the card holder verification code or CVV or PIN block number. PADSS give the requirement, you can store the type 1 data, but you don't store the type 2 data because it is a sensitive and authentication data. Provide the security to the card holder data, and as well as to provide the secure authentication features, log payment applications activities. If you are using the wireless, then protect the wireless transmissions. Test the application to address the vulnerabilities. Facilitate the security network implementations. Also, card holder data must never be stored on a server which connected to the internet connections. Facilitate the secure remote access to the payment applications. Encrypt sensitive traffic over the public network. You can use the SSH or SSL network. Encrypt all the non-console administrative access. Maintain the awareness and the training program for customer, reseller and integrators. Now we see the typical security framework. I have taken an example from one of the IT companies. As per the CNI, the business model is like this: people, process, technologies are ensured to protect the CIA to create a trust into the market. Hence, they are designed to maintain the regulatory compliance standards, business goals and objectives, securities management and guidelines. They are follow the certain standards and guidelines to create a trust into the market. Octave. Octave is a process-driven methodology which is operationally critical threat asset and vulnerability evaluations. It gives the graphical representations of the asset threat and which impact on organizations. It develops the qualitative risk evaluation criteria based upon the operational risk tolerance. It gives the three type of facilities in Octave. Octave are Octave S and Octave Allegro. Octave are basically used for the large organizations. Octave is used for the small organization, and Octave Allegro is used for the next generation of the Octave, in which in small amount and small amount of time you can make your risk analysis. Next one is an IT Grand Check. IT Grand Check is come from the German IT baselines. It mostly focus on a risk assessment, and it is also called as a bundles of the safeguard, and it helps to reduce the cost of the controls by reusable bundles of the familiar procedures to improve the information securities. In India, the Siemens organization goes through these certifications, but it is not globally accepted. Hence, Siemens is also required to follow the ISO standard. Next one we see the ITIL 3. In many banking sector they are using the ITIL 3 certifications. It is the information technology infrastructure library. ITIL is basically applicable to those organizations which provide the service, operations, service design, service strategy, service transitions. ITIL helps to improve on continuous basis to their service methodologies. ITIL also gives the IT security management, and it is focused on the service improvement, and they are aligned to the any particular. They are not aligned to the any particular vendor's product. They are only aligned to their service methodologies. And ITIL is having a 4 P's: the people, process, product, and partners. ITIL is basically focus on customer perspectives of the IT's contribution to the business. Next one is FISMA. FISMA is a Federal Information Security Management Act enacted in 2002 by the US government, and FISMA give the more importance to the cyber security, and it established the federal agencies like NIST and OMB. NIST are basically work for designing and developing the standards, guidelines, and associated methods and the techniques to provide the adequate control to the all agencies. And OMB give the annual budget of this annual budget on these control measures, and it both are together. They are giving the report to the US Congress, which is compiled with the act. And FISMA is also assess the effectiveness of the security control. FISMA helps to determine the agency level risks to the missions of the business case. It also authorizes the information system to the for the processes, and it's monitor the security controls on a continuous basis. Next one is HIPAA. HIPAA is a Health Insurance Portability Act, Accountability Act of 1996 was enacted by the US government, in which there is a two type 1 and type 2. Type 1 gives the protection health insurance coverage for a worker and their families when they change or lose their jobs. And HIPAA 2 is also known as administrative simplification. It is applicable to the administrative division. It gives the requirement that established of the national standard for the e-healthcare transaction and the national identifier for provider, the health insurance plan, and the employers. Hence, we can say that the global IT standard that promote the IT security by maintaining the following factor: proper flow of authorizations, sharing the information on need-to-know basis, implementing the standard of the good practices. We say that is skill through trade, and establish the context for the cost and time to maintain the standard, which is very important point to maintain the cost and time. It creates the trust on the market. Review and monitor on a regular basis. Next one is audit and test the appropriate control measures. Awareness and training program for interested parties like employees, vendors, suppliers, and the customers. And standard are facilities offered by the people and for the peoples. Hence, we say that the global IT standard that promote the IT security. If we follow these points, and thank you very much.